Now, this is from an IGN article, and there is one thing which stood out and it went viral. Apparently, an insider spoke to two former longtime Xbox employees separately, and both lamented the current state of the business. They said, "One told me prior to this week's awful studio closure, I had a lengthy conversation with a bunch of Xbox founders, and we all came to the same conclusion. It's no longer Xbox, but Microsoft Gaming." And a lot of people are reading this and they're basically saying, ouch, like this is really bad. And this is the absolute state of the gaming industry. Like this right here is the reason why we can't have good games anymore. And when I say this, I'm not exaggerating. Like when you look at the latest games which came out, most of them wouldn't even work on launch. Like they were such buggy messes that they wouldn't even start. They required patches in order for them to function. And you have games like Forspoken that actually tanked an entire studio. And there is a reason for that, and that is the corporatization of games. Back in the day of the golden era, when you had video games like Warcraft 3, Dune, Diablo, it was about the group of very passionate individuals that just wanted to make an amazing game. And they didn't really care about how they're going to monetize it or how much profits it's going to come back with. All they cared about is like, we want to make a game that anyone who plays is going to be mind blown by it. And if it sells, it sells. And most of the times it did sell because those games were so good that they didn't even need multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns. It was enough for word of mouth to carry them. Like someone would play the game, they were really excited about it, and they would tell all their friends. And eventually more and more people found out because the quality of the game was there. And it wasn't just the graphics or the gameplay, it was also innovation, like trying things that were new. You look at Warcraft 3, the idea of mixing RPG elements in a strategy game and contesting points on the map with creeps like that was really great for its time, and it was something innovative. And we don't have that anymore. Now, when you pitch an idea, you got to pitch it through several people, like several higher-ups, and you also need to be in a position to be able to pitch it. And then they will say, well, how can we be sure that it is profitable? Like, what is your monetization options for this? Like, how can we milk the customer of as much money as we can? And the focus is on making money. The focus is not on making a good product, right? The focus is on making sure that the company makes more cash. And they don't care about how they do it, whether it's loot boxes, whether it's selling on-disc DLC, whether it's harvesting information from its user, like harvesting the private data of users and then selling it to third party, or developing AI, or all this nonsense. They don't care, because their main reason is to make cash. And of course, every single company wants to make money, obviously. But in the past, it was the main goal was to make a good game, and they thought that if they make a good game, they will also make money on top of that. And of course, the other question is like, what's happening with AA? Okay, like AAA can't make money. What about AA? And the answer is, in some cases, AA can make money. If they don't mess up, like we saw with Helldivers, and we saw with the Coffin of Ashley and Lele and many other games. Like, you can make money if you're AA, but the problem is the moment they start making money, they sell off. So they sell off to Xbox, and then the Xbox shuts down the studios. Or they sell off to Sony, and then Sony puts some draconic policies which alienates the fans. So you have that thing, right? Like, if you are a AA studio and you make a good game, chances are you're going to eventually have to deal with these bigger companies. And then there's other independent developers, and most people are unaware. Like, I'm telling you about the game that I'm making, and probably due to the nature of it, I gotta be very careful because there are so many regulations. Like you got governments that now have regulations when it comes to making video games. You got the platforms like Steam itself. You got the credit processors, the founding of the websites. Like, for instance, how many of you knew that if in your video game you add alcohol or drugs, in any situation. Like you have someone that parties hard, an NPC, he parties hard, and then he smokes a cigarette or something. That is against the law in many other countries. And then there's ambiguous stuff like hate speech. Like if you were to make a video game like the first GTA or GTA 3 or GTA 4, I mean, you can make it, sure, you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in it, but then it gets banned from platforms. So people are legitimately afraid because it's a huge investment. Like there's a lot of people that mortgage their house, that spend their savings. So what they do to make sure that that doesn't happen, they hire consultants. And you get a consultant from California, and they diversify your entire game, which means that it's going to be bland. It's going to be like literally all the other games that call the consultants in. And you're not going to have games that really break the mold. Like, for instance, Postal 2. Like, Postal 2 would never be able to be made today. And even games by AAA companies. I remember, what was that one called? Manhunt. Like, Manhunt would never be made today. And then you also have like other video games that were very violent, like Soldier of Fortune. The first Soldier of Fortune was a first-person shooter that I grew up with. Like, you would shoot someone in the belly and you'd see their guts coming up and stuff. It would not happen today. Because as time moves forward, the industry becomes more censorious, less things that are allowed, rather than more artistic freedom. So gaming is less of an art now, and it's more of a corporate product. Whether it's AAA gaming, I mean, especially with that, but even with independent game developers, they have so many things that they gotta worry about. Not offending the publisher, not offending the platform, following the legal laws of many governments from the international community. Again, things about like, okay, how much violence you're allowed to have in, things about drugs and alcohol, like all of these themes are not allowed. Or you can risk and try to have it in, and then you have like someone that strikes down your game and it gets banned into a country and you lose money. I mean, theoretically it's possible. Usually from what I noticed with indie games is if no one knows about them, like if they're very small, no one cares. But the moment they start gaining traction, like the coffin of Ashley and Lele, if it actually gets really popular, then it starts getting scrutiny and it starts getting shafted left and right. So this is the issue that's happening, right? And I don't see a solution to it. I just think that at least for the next 10 years or so, gaming as an industry is going to become more stale, and more games are going to just move to mobile. There's no reason for companies to invest in a AAA game that doesn't sell when they can just make a cheap mobile game and have people play it a little bit before they go to work and have like some gacha systems that milk people of more money. Like the return on investment is a lot higher. So I think we're going to see more of that and less AAA gaming. But anyway, hopefully I'm wrong, hopefully we're going to see some really great games. The one thing that I know is that there's nothing coming out that makes me excited. I can't think of any games, because I was asked on a stream today, it's like, what game is coming out that you're excited? And I couldn't name any. I just couldn't. I guess I would be excited if they announced Resident Evil codename Veronica. Like, maybe that would excite me, or maybe a Silent Hill or something like that. But Stellar Blade was the last one that excited me. And unfortunately, the whole thing with Sony was a little bit disappointing. Not because the game itself suffered, but again, it encourages this culture of reliance on these companies that are robbing the art from the games, and they're turning them into corporate products. I mean, they are corporate products, but they're making them as if they're coming from an assembly line, as if they need to fit the box, they need to fit the mold. Because if they don't fit the box and if they don't fit the mold, then they can't exist. And that's the thing that I don't want to support with my cash. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.